Bourbon makers on Sunday demanded the UK end its 25% tariff on imported American whiskies after the US and Europe agreed a day earlier to ditch a raft of tit-for-tat duties. They called for President Biden to raise the issue with Boris Johnson during his visit to Scotland for the COP26 climate summit. We urge the Prime Minister and President Biden to discuss this issue in person in Scotland next week, said the Bourbon Alliance, which represents some of the best-known brands including such as Maker's Mark, Jim Beam, and Jack Daniel's, as well as British bars and importers. The announcement in the EU sets a precedent for a UK resolution, and we desperately need to see the swift removal of the tariff in the UK, and urgent support for the hospitality sector, which is now being left behind. Biden is due to fly into Edinburgh on Monday morning. Duty on bourbon and American whiskies was introduced in 2018 in a row between Washington and European over steel and aluminum. The Distilled Spirits Council of United States says the tariffs caused a drop of bourbon imports into the UK of 53%. But American whiskies were only collateral damage. The Trump administration placed taxes on EU steel and aluminum in 2018 because it said they were a threat to U.S. national security. Europe responded with counter-tariffs on everything from US-made motorbikes to peanut butter, jeans and whiskey. On Saturday, U.S. officials announced that the dispute had been resolved. They said that controls on aluminum and steel would not be entirely lifted, but a certain amount would be allowed into the U.S. without tariffs. In return, Europe said it would lift its retaliatory tariffs. That leaves the UK. It was part of the EU when the tariffs were imposed, but is no longer part of the trade bloc after Brexit. On Sunday, Britain's Trade Secretary indicated that talks had begun on lifting tariffs. We welcome the Biden administration's willingness to work with us to address trade issues relating to steel and aluminum. It is encouraging the U.S. is taking steps to de-escalate this issue, wrote Anne-Marie Trevelyan, Secretary of State for International Trade, on Twitter. Martha Dalton, co-founder of the Bourbon Alliance, welcomed the Europe deal. The UK must now focus on reaching a similar resolution, working with colleagues in the US to finally remove the tariff which continues to cause such disruption to the UK economy, she said. When the UK left the customs union, we were promised the freedom to establish an independent trade policy. The time has come to realize the opportunities of Brexit and to cut the tariff for good. The alliance said the hospitality sector on both sides of the Atlantic was still struggling to recover from the impact of the pandemic, which has left venues, suppliers and staff facing huge financial difficulty. The removal of the tariff on American whiskey imports would allow venues to fully restock their bars for the first time since the dispute began in 2018, it said. CEO of the Wine and Spirits Trade Association Miles Beale said, "It is welcome news that the US and EU have made such significant progress on the steel and aluminum dispute and taken US whiskey producers out of the tariffs firing line." The UK must now capitalize on this momentum without delay, suspend the tariffs, and quickly work with the US to resolve the dispute. At a time when the economy is in recovery from continued lockdown, it is vital that we move to support our UK spirits importers and the hard-hit hospitality industry at pace.